ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the final of the Pacific International Billiards for 2018. Thank you very much to everybody who's come for the final. Could I ask everyone please to make sure their mobile phone is turned off? Could I welcome the players? Okay. The players in the final, the defending champion from Western Australia, Bolton. And his opponent, who's come all the way from England to try and take all the money home, Rob Hall. The final will be best of 11 frames. The players will take a break when it suits both players. I'll just let the referee know we'll have a break then. And our referee for the final, Neil Brown. Thank you very much. I hope that everybody enjoys watching the live streaming. I hope that everybody here enjoys the final, and I shall leave the players in the hands of our referee. Thank you very much.
Very good. So the best of 11 games. Anthony Bolton for break, game 1. Rob Hall, 2. Miss, Rob Hall, 2.
Good afternoon and welcome from the Yarraville Club in Melbourne to this the final of the Pacific International Billiards 150 Up
Rob Hall, 3.
between Rob Hall of Lincoln in the UK and Matt Bolton from Perth in Western Australia. I'm joined in commentary by Dave Pitt from Melbourne, and we're here with Dan from CueballTV, doing a fantastic job. David, how do you see this match panning out?
Fascinating, Peter. These are two of the top players in the world. Matthew, the defending champion, 17-time Australian champion, former world number 1. Rob Hall from England, world number 3. We've had a great week of billiards here this week with so many players in the world top 20, and these are the two that have fought their way through to the final. And I don't know about you, Peter, but I'm looking forward to a very, very good match.
I'm very excited, but then again, I'm always very excited. So, are these the two that you might have predicted to make this final?
Well, certainly these were two of the 3 favourites, but I think the big favourite before the tournament started was the world number 1, Peter Gilchrist from Singapore, who has played in this event for the last several years and has won it on a number of occasions, but in a very high quality semi-final this afternoon he was knocked out by Matthew Bolton, 5-2.
And the other semi-final?
Other semi-final with a closer affair between local favourite Steve Mifsud, former world amateur snooker champion in 2002, a lover of billiards who played very well through the tournament, beat some very good players on the way through, got to the semi-final, but Rob was too strong for him and won that one five frames to 3.
So Steve looked like he was in it early on there, didn't he?
Oh, definitely.
But seemed to run out of
3-all, it was anybody's game, but just a couple of things didn't quite run Steve's way, and perhaps a couple of times where he perhaps went off a little bit too quickly. Rob, with all his experience at the top level, was just able to steady and close that match out. But a very good week for Steve, who's not ranked in the top 20 in world billiards. To come and really compete at the top level against these 3 of the top 4 or 5 players in the world. Great effort.
Bit of a surprise to not see any Indians figuring in the semi-finals.
Very much. 4 top quality Indians came here to Yarraville this week. All ranked in the top 20, all beautiful players, but one by one they succumbed to either the Australians or the visiting English or Singaporean players. Peter Gilchrist, of course, originally from England, but now lives in Singapore.
Peter, one of the Middlesbrough crew.
Yes, the famous Middlesbrough crew.
That's been an amazing thing, isn't it? I think the last World Championships there were 3 in the quarterfinals. There were 3 Indians and 5 Englishmen, counting Peter as an original Englishman. Of those Englishmen, one only was not from the town of Middlesbrough. Republic of India, population 1.1 billion, versus the town of Middlesbrough, population 95,000. It just shows you how important that youth development program is that they had at the Teesside Boys League.
Most wonderful development that these people up there put in 30 years ago when they started this boys league for kids as young as 9. They weren't allowed to play in the clubs. They could only get in there on Sunday mornings before midday. And they produced a number of world champions and top-ranked players that have really been part of the revival, massive part of the revival of billiards in England in the last 30 years.
That only player who wasn't from Middlesbrough is the man you're looking at now, Rob Hall, who's in fact from Lincoln. And he tells me that in his local league, which is a 200 up event, he has to give, he's off minus 800. so for the average player off scratch, Rob has to score 1,000 while they score 200.
Imagine the clubs are open pretty late up there.
You'd think so, wouldn't you? Although he's pretty quick. He seems almost casual as he walks around the table. He's got a very casual kind of demeanour.
He is very, very casual. He's, there's not, there's nothing flashy or showy about his game, but he's very, very effective at his trade, and he plays a wonderful game of billiards.
What's his strength?
He's a great potter. Well, all these players at the top level are great potters. I would say his greatest strength is just his tablecraft. He's just knows when to attack and when to defend, and when to keep it simple and when to perhaps go for something a little bit more fancy. He got in nicely here first in this opening frame, and
so this is top of the table he's playing now. For those of you who may not be so familiar with billiards, it's the red keeps coming back to the same place on the table on the billiard spot, and so the players will try and keep the opponent's white ball near to the spot, usually below the spot, so they can trap it with the cushion. It won't get away from them too far. So the great art of this, the shots look relatively simple, but in fact the great art is that is the touch and control and the millimetre perfect position that they're playing. So what's the response here? Little cannon to push red forward?
That's the shot. So he's just keeping his game very, very simple by playing it in essentially 1/8 of the table. So the table is 12 feet by 6 feet. But he's playing
It's
on a
too
table
bloody
that's-
big, isn't it?
It's too big and it's too difficult.
Yep.
He's playing on a table that's at the moment that's only 2 feet by 6 feet.
Mm.
Now, that makes it a lot simpler, but it also requires great precision and touch
Yeah.
to just keep
Oh,
those
that
balls
ball
in
just
position.
rocked on the spot. Did you see that? It might have ended up touching.
A little rocket.
Yeah, it's funny because there aren't actual cloth spots on here. They're just pencil marks on the cloth. But it's definitely rocked close
I
to
don't
the
think it is
opponent's
touching
ball.
because Gary would have something to say about that.
He would have. Now that's a clever shot. He's given a bit of a swipe and
Yeah, just
pushed them away so
apart,
he can
yeah.
recover it. So he goes cannon here, red over the bag, and then a cannon coming back. Is that how you see it? Depending on
Pretty
what the
thin here.
angle
Might
is.
have to just go. No, I think he's putting a red.
Ah.
Stunning there to give himself an angle for a cannon coming back, which will push the white again back towards the nameplate to the middle of the top cushion, and he'll just leave the red for half pot. And there he goes. He was in difficulty. 2 shots later, he's
Yep.
back with perfect top of the table.
Now, that was a bookline warning shot.
Yes, Peter, and under the rules of this short form of the game, where the game's at 150 up, the players have to cross the balk line towards balk, which is the balk line marks the D, and they have to cross that every break between 80 and 99 points. So the referee gives a warning, balk line warning.
Now this is a cover here. What did he do?
Skinny cannon off the inside. He'll just try and graze. Oh, the red. That's nice. He's gathered them together on the side cushion. He's lost the top of the table position. The great thing about these top world-class players is they lose position. 2 or 3 shots later, they'll be back in position. In fact, he's going to be back there. Not too long a time.
So that's not a problem with the white in the middle of the table. If he can get in off there, he can recover it to
Absolutely.
lots
yeah.
of different
So
places
there's
on
a
the
few
table.
things he can do. He can pot this red and just lay in softly to go in off and push the red up over the middle pocket. Or he could have come out again for a pot had he chosen to do so.
This game's unique, David. I remember you telling me that it's the only game where there are 3 ways of scoring.
That's quite
The only
right,
Q
Peter.
sport.
I've since found some other, since we had that conversation, found some other forms which have 2 forms of scoring. Russian billiards, in fact, has both in-offs and pots, but this English billiards is the only game which has 3 forms of scoring.
So that
And
makes it difficult to watch and difficult to commentate because it's very difficult to know what the next shot is because it'll depend upon what the pattern is the player sees in front of him.
Particularly in your case. Peter.
In my case, I'm hoping, absolutely. With no idea what the next shot to play myself is, it
Look at that.
makes it far more
Look
difficult.
at that beautiful shot. He's just taken the red off 2 cushions to put both balls in front of him there, quite close. And now he'll just again knocking the red towards the pocket. He's just Rob Hall is making this look very, very easy, but let me assure you, this is not an easy game.
I like it best what Clive Everton said. And that's the trouble with top level billiards that we're watching now, is that it all looks so simple. And Clive Everton said the problem with billiards is that art conceals art. So the better they are, the more likely it is that they'll make the game look impossibly simple. It's really a player's game. It's not really a great spectator game, but it's just a beautiful game to play.
Sadly, Peter, you're right these days. That hasn't always been the case, of course, in the 19th century and even well into the 20th century. Billiards was a great spectator game, and there used to be queues of people lining up to watch the top professionals, in England particularly, but also here. And some of the old-time players,
Thurston's Hall and Leicester Square.
Thurston's Hall in Leicester Square. And it's like that. There were people queuing up, to watch these people. Incredible. They used to queue up to watch George Gray, who was just a red ball player, and flogged the red. But
when you say just a red ball player, you mean he was playing in-offs the red, continual in-offs the red to the middle pocket?
Continually in-off the red. His record was over 600 consecutive middle pocket in-offs, just taking the red up and down the table and repeating the same shot over and over again. Incredible.
There's if you've ever had the time and energy to read Mac's book, which is in Pitch and Polish. A difficult read. It's a very difficult read, but he says that there are certain pure forms of the game which have all been limited over time, and George Gray's repeating pocket losers is one of them. The pot off the spot that William Peel mastered, repeated pots off the spot. All of those strokes are now limited to a certain number. Now that's gone narrow.
While we've been chatting here, Peter, Rob Hall, on his opening visit, virtually has knocked up a break of 138. I missed a relatively simple long loser into the top pocket, only needing 12 to win the frame. This match is 150 up.
Oh, that's trouble.
Best of 11.
Matthew's stunned at that.
Yeah, he is. Matthew's just
He's
lost the white there. Which
finding
is
it difficult to get up off the table.
Yeah. That's not like Matthew to
No, that's.
to express disappointment.
Do you think?
I'm trying to be ironic, Peter. It doesn't always work.
No,
Okay,
Matt's a player that wears his heart on his sleeve. There's no doubt about
He's
it.
definitely passionate.
We know exactly what's in his head by the expression on his face after
yes.
each shot.
Yes, he is but an open book. So this is a good, interesting little tactical scenario we're seeing here. Matthew's.
Now, Matthew, with the ball in book, Matthew's not allowed to aim directly at it, is he?
No.
That's a bit of a.
He has to play
bit
out
of a
of
mix
balk.
that one
Yep.
too.
He has to play out of balk there, as does Rob. So now Rob's come to the table. He hasn't got a shot, and very likely he'll be playing safe here. So we're seeing a little bit of a tactical battle here for a while.
Matthew ideally wanted to leave a shot on for himself, but not for Rob. Is that right?
He made a complete hash of it. Yes, he was trying to leave himself an in off the red, approximately from where Rob's yellow ball is now, but he wasn't able to do that, and now we're going to see a little safety battle ensue.
So Rob's pushed that to the side cushion, leaving Matthew the only possibility of a tricky long-distance cannon, and in the hope that Matt will miss and leave him up.
It's likely that he has played a tricky long-distance cannon. He's made a very good attempt at it.
Yeah.
And you would think from this that it's gone. No,
So-
it hasn't gone safe.
You can just play a little soft screw in off there and get that white somewhere over the middle cushion and middle pocket, and then try and work it a bit.
Well, he doesn't need to work it much because he only needs 10 more points. So five hazards here off the white will win him the game. Ooh, we overcooked that, and he's made a bad mistake there.
He has.
By
He's
knocking the
opened up
red.
the red.
He double balked himself, but more importantly, he missed the shot and he's knocked the red out of a safe position over the hole for Matthew. Matthew, as many will know, is a top line snooker player.
Yep.
He's now back in with a chance. These guys are so good they only need one chance to win these frames.
Yeah,
And,
it's like watching a frame of snooker, isn't it? You know, where the top flighters really only need one chance.
Yes, there is a difference in snooker though, because once you get to 70 or 75 in snooker, that's it.
It's
you've
all
won
over.
The frame.
Yeah.
It's never all over. In fact, there's been some extraordinary matches where the scores have been incredibly close between the players. There was an amazing match in the last 16 between Steve Mifsud and Michael Pearson. Steve Mifsud won that one 4-2, but in 4 of the 6 frames, the loser was on 140 or more points, including one where Steve Mifsud lost 149 to 150.
Really?
So, the excitement maintains right to the end.
Yes.
You would think in most sports, okay, Rob Hall's leading 140 to 22 all over Red Rover. Not so. Matthew's right in this. If he can get these down to the top of the table, he can just sweep past Rob and
It's an aggressive
win.
shot to play that all at once, isn't it? Hasn't come quite right.
No, but the way he's left them, I think he's got to either
He's-
pot the red or he can possibly go in off the white. We'll see what he does.
Looks like he's got in off yellow here,
in
doesn't
off
it?
the
And then he'll
yellow,
play down
Correct.
for a cannon
Yep.
to just slightly promote
He'll
the
be
red
putting
to over
this,
the pocket.
putting this white in the middle of the table, a little bit short. He wants to bring that up for a middle pocket loser.
Yeah, that has come up short.
Well, he's got a.
He really
little
has
bit
to
of
move
work
the
to
red
do.
here, doesn't he?
I don't think he'll play the long loser. But
You
we'll
think he'll
see.
play the
Yeah,
long loser?
Actually, there's another shot. No, he's going to stun in off this into the middle. It's a difficult shot. He's going to stun this off square into the middle.
And bring yellow up and
yellow
down the straight
centre
line.
of the table.
Yep.
Yeah. It's a very good shot, this. And he's a top
Oh,
line
that's a
player.
great
That's
shot.
very good. That's a touch shot too. He's got
He needs it further down. It's almost
he's
where,
left
back where it
himself
started.
Virtually identical shot. That's a touch shot.
Well, this is the example of what we were talking about with George Gray, isn't it?
That's
You know,
it.
that repeating
Yeah.
mid-pocket loser.
He's
But
just hit this one a few inches further, and now that changes the shot.
in off
To
into
a
this
long-
left,
off
bottom
into
left
the
corner
bottom
pocket.
left corner pocket. Yeah, it's a top left
It's actually
pocket.
the top left pocket,
Yeah.
but as we look at it on the
Yeah,
TV,
bottom
it's
of
the
the
bottom
screen,
left.
yeah.
Yep. You're almost as pedantic as I am. In fact, you're more pedantic.
No, you're more pedantic.
You are the chairman of the Pedantic Foundation, David. I think your business card says that.
Yes, pedantry is my middle name.
Well, he's still alive.
Yes,
Now he's got it into a
now he's got
mid-pocket
the-
loser
He
position.
can put this anywhere he likes on the table.
Correct.
And I suspect, I don't like to make predictions, but I suspect he'll put this around the centre of the table to play a cannon from the white. to the
You're a
red.
good judge. Oh, hang
But
on.
he's made that too wide.
Yep. And it's come up short for the mid-pocket
Yep. Good.
and too wide for the cannon, so
I
he's
think
really
the
just got that stunning off again, hasn't he?
I think he can easily get the in off here. It's a bit deceptive, the camera angle.
Is it?
This looks like an easy middle pocket in off
I think
here.
it's a stun.
No, just,
Stun.
you're right, Peter.
Yeah.
I'm surprised how wide.
You're surprised how
he's
right I
gotten
was.
it. No. I'm surprised.
Oh,
where
is
he's
that
spotted
got
it.
over? No, that's in balk. Now
That's
he's
it,
got
yep. So,
now he's got a diabolical pot or a spinning in off.
too close to the pocket for the spinning in off, and for you and me, that's a diabolical pot, Peter, but not for him. He'll just dribble this in and lay in to go in off the red. No,
Oh,
wrong
well
again.
done.
He did
Gosh.
pot it. It's a good pot.
It is a good pot.
Come out for another pot.
Actually, that yellow, although it's in balk, is actually a pretty good angle from a lot of places on the
That's
table,
right,
isn't there? There's a good in off there,
Yeah,
half ball in off.
Matt could work this. He just has to leave it into the right position, the right angle to be able to go in off that yellow into a balk pocket.
Yeah.
He's played that. He's played
Yep.
that nicely. He's got
He has played that
pretty much
nicely.
where he wanted to be. Perhaps
Yep.
he's a little bit wide, but he can swing this with left-hand side into that pocket.
So bring this
Bit of-
around
bit
off
of-
two
bit of
cushions for a
pace.
drop cannon.
Yeah.
One, two.
That's it. And down it comes.
A little short, but it's doable.
He's got a middle pocket loser or a drop cannon. I think he'll play the middle pocket
Middle
loser.
pocket loser and get it just 6 inches further down the
Yeah,
table
exactly. Yeah.
towards the red ball. Okay, well, that's a bit further out in the middle than he
Yeah.
wanted, but he does have a cannon with check side.
Both these players, but perhaps particularly Matthew, are having trouble getting used to the pace of this table.
Yes.
And the Revenant Championship table here at the Revenant Snooker Academy is recently been constructed for championship play and installed here. And although it has steel-backed cushions, curiously it does play a little bit slower than some of the other tables in the room. Which
Is this an
aren't
Alcock's
steel-backed.
table?
This table is built by Alcock's, yes, specifically for championship play.
Oh, he's overstunned that and left it and probably left
Well,
game
this should be
here.
all over Red Rover for this
Yep.
particular frame. This is too easy an opening here for Rob to make a mess of this.
So Chris Christophe from Reventon has just done a fantastic job of sponsoring Q Sports in the last 12 months, hasn't he? I mean,
Oh, it's remarkable.
all Q Sports have benefited from his involvement. But
It's remarkable the investment that he's made in snooker. He's created the Revenue series, which is providing a massive boost in prize money for Australian players, and a lot of excitement. It's really wonderful, and he's the
And that's-
sponsor of this.
Yeah.
One of the sponsors of the Pacific International series that we're watching here.
and that's his logo, bottom left on the screen there with the bull. I think it's a reference to bull markets and bulls and bears. And oh, that's a fall. That's a fall.
Oh, that's That's remarkable. Both players have broken down on pretty simple shots here in the last couple of minutes, which we don't expect to see, but it does show you, Peter, that even the very top players can feel a little bit
of pressure.
twitchy, perhaps a little bit of pressure, from the early stage of
First
the
frame.
final. Yeah, first frame. They're just finding their feet, trying to get used to the table. Rob Hall hasn't.
Just kiss cannon here. Ooh, bashed it.
Didn't work out.
Didn't stroke it.
Needed to get a full contact on the red there to push it over the pocket, but I don't think he quite got the double kiss. Might have been the problem there.
So cannon, two cushion cannon.
Yeah, difficult shot this. No, he's
No,
playing
safe.
Yeah.
Probably wise. He hasn't got a lot of points to waste here,
That's
has he?
right. Yeah.
Rob only needs 6.
So as I was just saying, Rob Hall's only played one match on this table, which was this week. Matthew, of course, has played quite a few more than that, including the final of the Australian Championship last year. Where he broke his own Australian record with a break of 809 in the long format of billiards. So he's intimately acquainted with every nuance of this table.
Indeed, I ended up playing him on this table, and he got the balls into the same position he had last year with the, do you remember he got 26, 20 something fine snick cannons without moving each ball.
Yeah.
He had them in identical
what a
position.
beautiful
What a great shot.
What a tremendous shot that was. It was a forcing shot with top spin and right hand side.
Yes.
The top spin caused the ball to curl away from the cushion and then back towards it, and cannon into that yellow. A very spectacular shot, almost in the category of a trick shot.
Yes.
And unfortunately for Rob, it's for Matthew, I beg your pardon. Unfortunately for Matthew, it hasn't left him a whole lot. A skinny cannon is the only shot he's got.
Is he thinking about safety, or is he thinking about...
Maybe he's thinking about going it off down in the top right-hand corner.
Gee, I don't think that's on, is it?
Well, at the bottom right-hand
At
corner,
pace.
as we look at it.
At pace.
We'll see what he's going to do.
Pot yellow. No, he's played the in off.
What a beautiful
and
shot.
got it. What a great shot.
That was a great shot.
Under
And
pressure.
great pressure, and also the fact that he had to hit that a little bit thicker than perhaps the natural angle to keep the wide out of walk. So he's got them both in front of him now, and an opportunity to develop these balls into position at the top of the table.
If Rob Hall loses this, he'll be kicking himself, won't he? He had it absolutely on a plate there.
He had it absolutely on a plate on 138, and then he's had 2 other opportunities since then, and you can't be giving players of Matthew's class too many extra chances in this game. Difficult shot this.
Well, he wanted that full on that yellow, didn't he, so it would trap it.
He's played a nice cannon, but he's caught the yellow thin and run up to the other end of the table. This is now a very good safety on himself. He's got a shot. He can strong
Left-hand side off the red. Strong left-hand side off the red.
right hand side.
Right-hand side. No, left-hand side.
Sorry, off the red, or
Yeah.
possibly off the white. Who knows? He'll certainly be giving it a bit of a tomp, I think.
He's gone the inside
Good
rip.
shot. That's a
That's a
great
good
shot.
shot.
That's a wonderful shot, and he may have fluked the red, which is okay.
That's okay.
for-
That's okay from
he-
where he is. It's come up
Bit
okay.
of luck there. He played a beautiful shot.
Yeah.
Fluked the red, although he would have been equally happy with the red over the corner pocket. And now he's got a choice of shots. So
Well, his score's creeping up there. 67 now. He's kind of almost halfway there. Rob's still sitting. Oh, is that in the middle? Where's the yellow going? Where's the yellow going? In the famous words of John Virgo. Except he says white, doesn't he?
yeah, that's remarkable change of fortunes just in this one break. Matthew got a great break there with the way the balls ended up, and then the next shot he's lost the white, so back to defensive mode.
So what's the head-to-head with Matthew and Rob?
Well, it's quite remarkable, Peter, considering that they're both world-class players and have been around for a number of years. They've only ever met once, and never in this format. I was chatting to Matthew's father, Neil Bolton, just before, and he told me the only time they've met is in long format billiards, where Rob had a narrow win over Matthew in World Championship in Leeds in England a few years ago. Of course, Matthew hasn't been to England in the last 3 or 4 years to play in their tournaments, as he's been concentrating on his snooker and playing as a professional on the English tour. But
So
it's nonetheless remarkable that they've...
So his world ranking has dropped. I mean, the world rankings in billiards are always a little bit of a movable feast because the prize money doesn't really allow players to be permanently on tour. So it's more often a question of how many home tournaments you have in your country as to how well you can do in the rankings. But Rob Hall's currently ranked number 3. He's been travelling a lot for billiards this year. Matt's ranking has dropped through the floor, but I think any fair judgment would say that he's certainly in the top 5 players in the world. I think Mike Russell, Peter Gilchrist, Pankaj Chadvani, and of course David Corsia would make up the numbers, and Rob Hall would be in that group too.
Absolutely, yeah. So, and that's leaving out some of the other the top Indians.
There are lots and lots of great players who are maybe just outside that group. So we're really privileged here. I think at this tournament we've probably had, forget official rankings, you've probably had 5 of the world's top 10 players here, would you say?
Yep. Just about.
You had Dhruv Sidwala, Dwaj Haria, Saurav Katari, all fantastic players. Who actually prefer this format. Neil's made a mistake there, dropped the ball, looking sheepish. Actually, he does look particularly sheepish, he's just been shorn. He's just had a sharp new haircut. This is the 6th time that he's refereed an Open or national. He refereed his first in 1991. But if you are a billiards tragic, this is the same guy that last year was sporting long hair, and now he's gone completely the other way.
Lovely shot.
That's a lovely,
that's just landing on the correct side of the red to push it towards the pocket. It looks a bit close to the cushion.
Yeah, a pot's tricky. A pot's tricky.
That'll worry Matthew. I think he'll just be able to slip in off this one thin.
Yep.
And slow. No, not slow. He's pushed it up to the middle. Shows the danger of making predictions as a commentator.
Well, as I say, billiards. There are so many options in billiards, and there are some patterns. This is a pattern called drop cannon, which will gather the balls together near the nameplate that says snooker. It should say billiards, of course. This being a billiards table, but this will just gather the balls on that top cushion there. And he's been unlucky. He's got a cover.
He just slipped off the white, which he was trying to hit full ball, and that meant his ball ran around and left them lined up or covered, as you've said, Peter. Maybe possible to play a tricky run through, but I think he's going to have to screw the white ball into the top cushion and then back for a cannon.
Just grace
the yellow. Yeah.
Louder, please, Mr. Bolton. Louder.
Hasn't left himself much here.
Not a lot here, so
this is where
he's up to 94.
Skills, might come to the fore here. The only shot I can see is to pot the red, but it's a very difficult shot.
Surely he'd play safety here. Surely he'd play safety.
Skinny enough. Yep. What a good attempt, but and it developed the balls beautifully, but
he's developed them for Rob. Rob only really needs at most 3 scoring shots, and if it's the red, it's 2 scoring shots. So in off the red pot, red would be enough. And Matthew's muttering away to himself there, as he does. Don't think anyone's harder on him than he is himself, unless it's his dad. He's missed it. 3 chances there. That's unbelievable. And Matthew's in again. How many chances does Rob need here?
Yes, it's quite remarkable to see both players, swapping the opportunities back and forth between them like this. It's a little bit like a game of tennis where they keep dropping serve.
Yes, yeah, that's right. And that's come up short too. This
That's a
it's
bit
looking
short,
like
yeah.
this top cushion, the cushion closest to us, is not reacting the way they're expecting. They've both made the same error a few times.
Fascinating.
Now we've also been graced here this week with the presence of Raja Subramanian, who's a top 20 world player, and six shot. And he's the world's leading disabled player.
A two-time world disability snooker champion, and also, I believe, the world disability billiards champion.
Yes.
Lovely guy, Raja.
Lovely guy,
I had
Raja.
A good chat to him in the back of a car.
But
Coming
actually,
back from Government House last week, and
Okay.
he's a real gentleman from
Well,
Mumbai, I should say.
we'll ask you about that in a minute. But Raja isn't playing with a head start or any particular advantage here. He's playing in the open game, and in the open game he is one of the world's top 20 players,
Yes, that's
and has
remarkable.
and so with one eye he's twice as good as I am with two eyes.
Yes, he has one
I
eye.
am prepared to put one out if I
Yes,
can play like Raja.
One eye and a host of other disabilities.
And a host of other disabilities, and such a lovely guy. Now you were mentioning Government House, so you've been hobnobbing it this week, Dave?
Peter, the Governor of Victoria, we'll talk about this at the end of the frame, I think, as a topic worthy of that discussion. What a beautiful shot that was, with very little reward.
No reward. That's
He,
just not running right for Matt or with either of them.
He screwed back, a difficult screw back into the pocket, but the red just come off the yellow and finished up in balk.
So do you play, he's at risk of the double kiss if he plays the cannon, so isn't the pot the
Well,
safer
at this stage
option?
of the game, it's more likely that he'll play the pot and double balk, but then again...
Gosh, he's hit that with authority, hasn't he?
He has, yeah.
Like real authority on
Yeah.
that. He hasn't just poked that in.
That's
So
a
now
very
just
strong
fine
shot.
snicks the red and leaves a double balk that he can score from, but the other opponent can't.
Yeah, that's a good shot. So again, the advantage at the moment is with Matthew.
Yep. And
First
the
stage
way
of the
it's
game.
worked out, nobody's made a massive break, so he doesn't have to make another balk line crossing. So really, he's just got to run out 40 points, and this is
That's right.
so. This looks like a three-cushion attempt at a cannon, or in fact, he'll take anything at all.
He'll take anything. I ought to be happy to hit the red here. And he's gone
Unbelievable.
right around them and
Unbelievable that you can play off three cushions like that and not hit either ball coming in at that angle.
he came into an angle where, yes,
He
had to
had
hit
to-
something, but
he
just
had to
went
hit
round the
something.
middle of the wall, yeah.
How did that fit through there?
Again, yet another opportunity. I'd say this is about the fifth chance that Matthew has had
Well,
in this frame.
it seems unlikely, but we'd have to put Matthew favourite at this stage.
Matthew is a strong favourite right here.
Yeah. Well, that's gone about as wrong as it could have gone, but it's still all right.
It's not too bad. That's not what he wanted, but it'll have to do. He's got a simple cannon here.
Yeah. And he just needs
Push the red over the pocket.
just keep it simple here.
It's actually a very good shot though.
Well, he hasn't been too fussed about retaining the yellow tightly behind the spot, but he's just got scoring opportunities
He
everywhere.
can score a father ball, so.
Yeah.
He's taken that up to the middle pocket, so he's still thinking about the top of the table.
Again, he's come up short. He can recover this, but
You can recover this with the cannon here, Peter, but this is actually a bit risky, this shot, especially
he pots the red.
for the average player, because you can pop the red or you can hit it a little bit hard and finish.
Oh,
he
he's
got a
been
lucky
lucky
double kick.
there.
Yeah, he hit that
Very
quite
lucky.
firmly, and the red looked
In the
like
wrong
slipping up
spot.
the side
Side
cushion.
cushion.
But with the double kiss, he's just brought them back.
So
into a nice
delicate in off
position.
the red and just leave the red over the bag here, you think?
So it would seem.
Now red's into the opposite corner pocket, so pot red, pot red.
Mhm.
closing in. Needs only 23 points now to steal, and it would be a complete
steal.
theft.
Yeah, absolute theft, yes.
Call the cops. And he wants to. This could affect Rob for the rest of the match to lose from here.
Oh, I'm not so sure about that, Peter. He's a seasoned professional, Rob, and these sorts of things, happen all the time. In billiards, he'll just get out of his chair and line up for the next frame.
You're right. I was thinking of me. It'd affect me.
It would affect you or me, Peter, for weeks.
You more, I think, Dave. I think you'd be distraught. We would never hear the end of it.
So Matthew,
It's
once
tight
again,
behind the
perfect,
spot now.
perfect top of the table position, but he doesn't really need this. He can score by using open billiards to get the 20 odd points that he needs here. And this, of course, is probably the easiest way to do it.
Well, this is where he's most comfortable.
But it's not without risk.
Yeah, if he misses a red, he leaves. He loses the game basically. Oh, that's sat right on the cushion. So he'll have to go in off now and just leave the red over the back. Watch how delicately he hits these shots.
Just with a little bit of backspin to just make the ball hold its line. It's called drag, that effect. So he's just hit the ball to spin backwards across the cloth. It'll stop spinning about halfway and just roll towards the object ball and then just slip into the pocket. The reason for playing a shot like that is just to take out any variations in the tail of the cloth that might cause the ball to
Oh, this has gone wrong, hasn't it?
to not run a true course.
That's gone wrong. We've still got in off the red, but it's
so because
146 all.
Yeah, that's right. So the reason the red has gone up onto the pink spot, Peter, is that the yellow is occupying the billiard spot, or black spot, as it's most commonly known.
Yeah, and actually it's the pyramid spot it's gone on, hasn't it?
That's
In
exactly
billiards
right.
we call it the pyramid spot, not the pink spot.
Matthew's got...
Because we predate snooker. They're clapping, but...
That's great. So we were just...
We've missed a point.
Never mind, Dan. So
Never mind, Dan.
That
You've
was
taken all the
winning
drama
shot.
out of it, so
there
they're completely bugging up the commentary.
So, tremendous comeback there from Matthew. 146 to, I think, 22 at one point in that game, and he's just calmly gone through and ended up winning that. So 1-0 to Matthew, when for all money it looked like a 1-0 to Rob Hall. So first blood to the Australian.
Yeah, but you would have had to say that Rob lost that rather than Matthew grinding out the win.
Well,
Rob had several chances.
Rob had several chances to win that one. Matthew's just going to play safe here and try and pot the white.
Oh, that's gone wild.
Yes, I don't think Matthew's completely happy about that either.
No. It looked like he played plain ball, but it drifted on the cloth. And now he's just stalking around the end of the table as he does. You will know if Matthew is unhappy with table conditions or anything else, in fact.
Okay, good long-range cannon there from Robbie. He's been a bit unlucky with the yellow sitting right in the hole. And,
it is.
I don't think he can go in off that.
Well, a lot of the English players love to. That ball's potentially angled, so oftentimes you'll see them play to hide their ball on the other side of the table, so to force a foul and get a respot. Because it would have been angled, but he didn't.
He couldn't do that, I don't think, from that particular position. But now he's just putting the red up in balk, and he's closing this up here. It's possible, but risky, to continue to play off the red when you've lost the right. The reason why it's risky is that if you miss and leave both the balls, one or both balls out of balk, your opponent comes to the table and can put his ball anywhere in the D, which is a tremendous advantage in billiards. It's the major advantage that you have in billiards, which is why I like going off so much.
Yes. So this is a very, very good double balk. All the balls are away from the cushion. They're separated from each other, but he's left a standard half ball. He really is forcing Matt to try and move the yellow ball.
Matthew was trying to play a thin cannon.
He's missed them.
That was a very advanced shot, that.
Yeah.
And now he's left Rob the choice of 2 shots, still going off the red here, and try and
Push it over the middle
push it
there.
over the middle so he can
Pot it and then go in
pot
off
it
the
and
white.
then going off the white.
So how many shots ahead are these guys thinking?
Not as many as you might think, Peter. They're certainly not thinking like chess players do, where they're thinking 18 moves ahead or something like that. They're usually thinking 2, 3, not more than 4 shots ahead.
Yeah.
But if I could be so bold to predict, he'll pot this red in the middle, he'll go in off the white to bring it down either from middle pocket loser or a drop cannon.
And
If
so
he-
top of the table
top
with
of the
4.
table, 4 shots.
So we'll count you up, David, and see whether you're any good.
3 or 4, depending on whether he what he
Plays
leaves
the
on
in
this
off.
one. Yeah.
With this one, he can leave
Yeah.
it for the middle pocket loser or push it further down for the drop cannon.
He's left it for the drop cannon, so if he plays a good shot here, he can be at the top of the table in 3. Just
He's
gone a
come
bit
down
far.
too far, so
Just
have
gone
to
a bit
come.
too far. Play this off the top cushion, and it's a bit unpredictable what will happen here.
Well, I've seen the way he plays this. He likes to play the mid pocket pot after this. But he won't be doing that, will he?
No, that's just gone nasty for him. He's played that the safe way, which is to hit the white ball a bit more firmly and
Yes.
and push both balls up ahead
Yes,
of himself,
yes.
hitting the red full. And usually that works out okay, but the white's just come around and covered the red, so he can't
Cannon
score
off the
directly.
cushion.
He can play a cannon off the cushion, and that's the shot that nearly all these top players would play, but it's incredibly
It's
risky.
tricky.
You have to play it dead slow, at dead
Yeah.
pace, and of course if you miss it, then your opponent has the choice of playing them where they are with all the balls together, and that's a surprise.
Wow.
I'm
Yeah.
quite surprised at the pace he hit that, but
Yeah.
then again, he's the world number 3 and I'm not.
Yes. Push it over the middle.
Oh, look, he's made
That's
a
a nice
beautiful
touch.
recovery there. That's a beautiful shot there.
He's
Good
got a
contact,
touch
good
of the
pace.
David Corsiers about him, doesn't he? The way he moves the balls around. The
Mm.
balls are like in constant motion. He's very quick on the shot too, as David is.
Mm. That's a
So
nice shot.
snatch the ball out.
Yeah.
He doesn't take a long time to think or line them up.
Mm.
He's just down on the shot.
He's a beautiful player. I've been watching him this week with great admiration.
Mm.
He doesn't have the silky smoothness of 1 or 2 players. I'm thinking of Peter Gilchrist and Devan Sharia, who really just have
Mm.
silky smooth in the way they approach the game. But really, it's impossible to detect any faults in Rob Hall's game. He's a great potter.
Yes.
Very good at table management, as I said, and of course his hazard game and top of the table of the highest order. Just conservatively pushing the red towards the pocket and just developing the white there. A lot of players, including one of your New South Wales mate, Joe Manici, would be probably trying to do a lot more with that
Top
one.
in one.
Top
Yeah.
in one, but I'm just content to keep it a little bit more simple than that
Mm.
and take his time.
That's a bit loose, that one. He's,
Yes.
but he doesn't mind that. It seems that he's quite relaxed, working the balls around a bit, having them move. Matthew tends to be a lot more precise, and I think Rob's more in the camp of creative player than precision player.
That's a good shot again. He's
That is a good
quite
shot.
firmly, I was surprised.
Yeah.
He's turned out perfectly. He's left himself simply not the red here. I think to just give himself a short cannon to go back to the top. It was nice that it's
Mm.
and very safe. We've just been greeted by the Syrian number 1.
That's right, George Chamis.
Who's
Just walked into the room with his lovely wife Phoebe.
fresh from Sydney.
Yes, we have a couple of internationals in Sydney who play under the banner of different flags, but in fact are domiciled in Sydney. We've got George Chamis, who often represents Syria, and young Edwin Tay, who's in fact the Malaysian number 1, but travels in from Burwood to wear the Malaysian flag.
Indeed he does, yeah. Here we go with Gary in at the top again. Now, Peter, it's been a great pleasure to chat with you here. We've just been joined in commentary by one of our visiting players from England, Gary Norman, who's an absolute billiards nut. And has had a really good time here this week, and he's going to step in your commentary and give you a little less biased Australian perspective on this match. So
Fantastic.
great to chat with you, Peter, and I'll hand over to
Thanks,
Gary.
Dave. No, just press it once. Okay, I'm joined in commentary by Gary Norman. Hi, Gary. How are you? What colour socks have you got on today? There you go. Just press it once. Yeah, put it down.
Yeah.
What colour socks have you got on today, Gary?
Multicoloured today.
They're always multicoloured, are they not?
There's a few colours going on there.
Gary, where do you get
It's
these
a
socks?
bit of a theme, I think, really.
They're the talk of the tournament. Where do you get these socks? Are you prepared to
All
reveal
over the
your
place.
sources?
I've never known to be for
In
being
search
a
of a
little
good
bit
sock.
loud, and socks are part of that, I think, probably.
Good for you. Now, you're staying
Well,
with
that's the
Rob?
spice of the game, doesn't it?
You're staying with Rob, are you?
Yes, indeed, yeah.
65.
And was he pleased to reach the final?
Very pleased. He's a bit tired at the moment. I think we're all still
Did you have
suffering.
him out late last night?
No. Well, no, we got back to the apartment. We've got an apartment that we're renting on the Docklands area.
Oh, lovely.
Keys, very nice actually. Just, I think we're still suffering a little bit from jet lag, to be honest with you. It's still a bit of a problem for us. But, and I think the length of the matches as well are probably
Yes.
taking its toll on him because long days, a bit of waiting around between matches,
Yes.
and then obviously significant hours in terms of concentration when you're playing.
So Mike Newman from Sydney's just walked in the door. Hello, Newman.
But no, Rob's game has come on tremendously over the last 2 to 3 years, I suppose. Really, I mean, he's
really
always
has.
been a very good player, but he's been really putting the time in, and I think
Has he
he's been
been
rewarded.
getting coaching from some of the older and more senior players?
No,
There aren't many more senior players than him now.
no.
It's hard to know
No.
who would coach you when you get to this standard.
No, from Rob's perspective, it's all about putting the time in on the table. He does a lot of solo practice at home. He's got a lovely table at home at his parents' place in great surroundings, and for him, it's about that solo practice and about honing the skill.
So he's got a Hainsworth cloth on that, I think.
He
Hasn't
has, yes, yeah. Hainsworth cloth. He changed it probably about. Well, it's the second one he's had on now, I think, but changed it from the normal straw probably about 18 months, 2 years ago.
Right.
Maybe a little bit over that.
79.
Okay.
The Hainsworth cloth seems to be a bit more reactive, and it plays better for longer. That's I think what we find.
I think, I don't
Yeah.
quite understand that if you're going to be playing your tournaments on straw and 6-8-1-1 with each to his own. I guess that's how you learn.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys have had a big journey here in the last few weeks. You stopped in Singapore to start with and played the Singapore
We did.
The
We played
Asian-
the Asian Open.
Asian Open.
Yeah.
First running of that. Tell us about that tournament.
that tournament was held at the Singapore Q Sports Academy. It's the first time they've had a tournament of that ilk within that part of the world. It's something that Peter Gilchrist in particular has been wanting to try and put together for quite a while now. It didn't end up kind of as everybody had expected, because the field of entry was, and also probably the quality of entry overall was a bit less than what everybody would have desired. But I think it sets the scene for maybe something.
Oh, that's a pot you wouldn't see Matthew miss very often.
That was a
How
bad
did he
miss.
left that?
Yeah, I think it sets the scene for maybe something similar, but you know.
That's the first running, isn't it? So,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's a learning curve, isn't it? And,
absolutely.
there's lots of things that we'll learn in terms of the organisation of the event, and also the kind of publicity and everything else of it, really, which you know, those kind of mistakes won't be made again.
Have you noticed here that both players are leaving these balls short of the middle pockets? I think they're both struggling for pace here on this table.
I think the tables have slowed down a little bit, to be
Have
fair.
they?
I think they have, yeah. They seem to be pulling up off the cushions a little bit. And I think that's
And
catching them
another
out
one?
a little bit.
Yeah.
I have to say though, the tables are, certainly from my experience of here this week, the tables have played very, very well.
Yes. Well,
Lovely,
you played very
lovely
well.
club.
You played very well.
I played reasonably well.
Well,
Not well enough.
you're being modest. Now, he might have potted that. That's
a
crazy.
monster fluke.
It is. Holds the hand up.
Mm-hmm.
Holds the hand up. Now drop cannon here. Yep. So now he plays down.
Yeah.
White comes
Standard
off.
drop
Two
cannon.
cushions. Well, he's a little wide, but
Should be fine now, as long as he hits the right side of the red. Which he hasn't. But
that's all right.
It's okay.
I think you
It's
can
okay.
see the edges there. If you can see the edges, you can play the little sneak cannons, and if he plays them softly enough, he's always got one coming back where he can promote a ball. Ideally, the red ball towards the pocket. Well,
I was just about to say that touch is all important on that, but he's given it a little bit of a whack.
he does move them around. I was saying earlier, there's shades of cause here about him. Right? You look at it, and the balls are constantly in motion, but he doesn't play the same kind of precision as, say, a Mike Russell or even a Matthew Bolton. But he knows where the balls are going to general positions where he can score from them again.
Funny you should mention
And
David.
great in the open.
I had a text message from him not more than about 15-20 minutes ago, just for a couple of hours actually, asking how things are going. So he's keeping in touch with proceedings, I'm sure.
So this is your first visit to Australia as a player? You came across us, did an exhibition with us in Sydney, did you not?
18 months ago.
18 months ago.
That was one that you organised, Peter.
It
actually.
was actually, yes.
Very nice golf club that was too.
Yep. And but this is the first tournament you played in
First
Australia.
tournament, indeed, yes.
Yeah. And what's your view about how it's been run, how it's been organised, and hospitality and so forth?
I've got nothing but praise for the organisation. I think it's been outstanding. I think personally, Paul Cosgrave as TD has been just phenomenal. His attention to detail is second to none.
Yes.
And like I say, everything is, it's difficult when you've got a roll-on, roll-off situation where you don't know the exact length of matches, but he's handled it, and everybody else handled it extremely well.
Yes. And I mean, you've got a lot of guys here who just love the game. None more than Jason Colebrook, President of Billiards Australia and main driver and organiser for all of these events that we're having in Australia. And Jason's enthusiasm has just been infectious. And
yes.
we've all caught that kind of enthusiasm, and he's backed up by a tremendous committee of guys on the VBSA. Really, it pains me as a New South Welshman to say it, but really the best organised state association in our country. And I'm getting a fist pump from George Hoy, who's one of those organisers. I didn't want to acknowledge you, George, but there you go.
Yeah, no, Jason, I've known Jason not for too long, I suppose, really, probably only about 2.5 years or so, but his, that could be in, or close to it.
No.
Yeah, I mean, his dedication to it and the time he puts in is absolutely evident. I mean, even over the course of this last week, with he's been working on the computer, I think, late at night,
Yes,
making sure
yes.
everything's just so.
Yeah. So, Gary, I understand you got a knighthood recently on Friday, is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah.
I thought so. So,
Yeah.
presentation at Government House with the Governor?
Yes, that was wonderful. It was very unexpected, I have to say. But it's kind of one of these things that you look forward to with a little bit of trepidation, because although we're not talking royalty here, we're talking somebody that's got significant status
Yes.
within the country, within life generally, and to be invited to such a wonderful place, which Government House is, and it was just was lovely, to be honest with you. It's those are things that the memories stay with you for an awful long while.
Mm-hmm. And then an exhibition afterwards at the Australian Club, and then a reception and dinner at the Melbourne Club.
Indeed, two clubs the likes of which I don't think we have seen probably in the UK for an awful lot of years. It's almost in some respects a little bit like going back in time in terms of the kind of the environment, but that you can feel the history of,
Yes.
of both of those,
Yes.
and the billiard tables in particular, phenomenally good. You're so
Yes.
lucky with the standard of tables over here. I
Yes.
think it's just.
Yes. When you
they're
say
just
over here,
really,
I'm
good.
going to say again, that's largely a Victorian thing. They really do have first-rate conditions here, and you've got a lot of people that care about it here.
Yeah. I was talking when I was at the Australian Club, which was the first one we was
Yes,
at. I was
yes.
talking to the managing director of Alcock and Taylor, who's who
George
you know.
Thompson. Yeah. Lovely man.
Yeah, really nice guy. Really nice guy.
He's who I was referring to when I said there are people that care. He's quite a special person, isn't he?
He was telling me, I was talking to him about the tables, because they've got a certain patina about them in terms of the look, and apparently that a lot of the tables you have over here, the timber is from Tasmania.
Yep.
Tasmanian blackwood, which I've never seen in the UK at all before, but it's got a lovely look to it. Really hard, solid timber. And they make for a nice, a nice finish, I think, really.
Yes. Even this table is quite beautiful to look at if you look at the
Yes, it is.
timber work on it. I guess that's why when the first recognised world champion John Roberts made a tour of Australia, he took back with him an Alcock's table, and since that time, Alcock, Thompson and Taylor made a model called the John Roberts, which was in recognition of his endorsement of the product. So, fantastic manufacturer.
And the second venue that we went to, the Melbourne Club, wasn't it?
Yes,
the second
it was.
one.
Yes, it was.
Second one. Again, that was of similar style, very colonial, I would suggest.
Yes.
But also uniquely, with a very large courtyard garden, the lights of which
In the middle of the city.
in the middle of the city, the lights of which you can only but kind of guess as to what
What the land value
what
would
the
be
land
worth.
value would be for something of that nature. It's
I think they
quite
were explaining at
incredible.
the time that the club was established only a few years after the city of Melbourne, so they got first pick of where to locate
Yeah,
and
yeah.
what to build.
Yeah.
So back then it probably wasn't a big deal to have a big open garden courtyard, but now it's surrounded by office buildings and it would be worth any amount of money just as office space,
Absolutely.
floor space.
Absolutely.
But the members have wisely decided to keep it as open space, albeit for their own enjoyment.
The one thing I thought was quite interesting about both of those venues was that they were, apart from the facades, which kind of fitted in with the general feel of the street settings that they're in, you wouldn't know that the clubs were there. They were very understated, no signage or anything like that outside. You either know it's there or you don't. You know?
Yes.
That was an interesting point, I thought.
Well, the members themselves are very discreet, so yep. So you feel like you've been looked after here, and how's the food been?
The food's been excellent. It's to some extent it's home from home.
Yep.
The food we had in Singapore was very diverse. Not all of it agreed with us, I have to say. But that's the kind of thing that happens when you go away, especially to Asia. You end up eating things that your body's not particularly used to.
That's right.
But no, I've got nothing but praise for everybody here in Australia. I personally love Australia. I think it's great. 15, 20 years ago, I would have probably emigrated here. It's the standard of life and everything you have here, I think, is really nice.
Well, it looks like that yellow ball was rolled off there when Rob's gone to play that. I would have thought he would have tried to knock it towards the pocket. So Matthew at this stage, same as in the first frame, he's well behind. But as we saw, it's not impossible he can come and pinch it. So he's just pushed his white into a safe position and left a tough choice for Rob. He hasn't really got much angle, even if he pots this red, which is no sure thing. He doesn't have an easy second shot. He can try and stop or screw back slightly for a cannon, but that's about all he's got.
He might decide just to roll it along the cushion, perhaps.
Could do.
I don't think he's doing that, though. That's an
Just
amazing pot on these
That's an
tables,
amazing
actually.
pot. And he's got it back into great shape. He loves that, doesn't he? You English can pot, there's no doubt about it. You pulled off some huge pots.
I mean, obviously, Rob has strength sort of all round at the game, but his potting, particularly, is extremely good.
Mm. Well, we're about to see it again, aren't we? These pots along the top rail are not easy. Or bottom rail, it's top rail as we look at it on the camera. In fact, it's the bottom end of the table. Commentator's curse. We just tell you what a wonderful potter he is, and he misses one.
Maybe a run through cannon here, you think, Peter?
Maybe, yes. Good call, Gary. The red's just popped out nicely for Matt. As long as he doesn't have to use the rest, will he lean across?
The only snag with this shot, I think he might have to take the long rest because I think he needs to be over the other side of the table.
Yes.
And I don't think he might be able to do it by leaning over, but it's a bit of an ask.
Yes. This is where you want to be Peter Gilchrist at 6'5". Yes, there's the sole spectator in the background, Mac Rinkowitz.
Yeah, Mac Rinkowitz.
No, actually, all the people are up the other end.
Cushion caller, as we will affectionately know him as.
That's right. He's one of the great characters of the game here.
Absolutely. I was first time I've met Mac in person. this visit. Spoken to him many times via email and
Well,
on the forum and the like, and
you're a
had
bit
many
of a
debates with him.
cue collector yourself, aren't you? Or,
Yes, I do have quite a collection. Nothing like some people, but in the UK, but about 50 or so.
Did Mac isn't playing with the cue he had last year, but I was having lunch one time in Bendigo with Dominic Dale, the snooker player, who's an avid cue collector, and I was telling him about this guy in Melbourne who has a 3-piece cue that he carries in a violin case that he turned himself from a broomstick, and the fittings, he has to put it together with a spanner before he plays. And of course it was Mac, and Dominic didn't believe me. He said, no, that wouldn't happen. Just as I said that, Mac walked past, and I said, Mac, have you got your cue with you? He said, yeah, I do. So he pulled it out, and Dominic Dale was absolutely stunned. He was looking at that cue. Okay, the main question was, why? Why would you bother? But Mac has a lot of theories about cues and balls and the physics of the game.
Yeah, you talk about the physics of the game. One of the things that I remember distinctly, a conversation that Mac was having on one of the billiard forums about 18 months, 2 years ago. He'd done quite a bit of research of his own, of course, as ever, into the effects of the curvature of the earth on the length of the table. And he wrote a whole chapter about this, and it was tough going, I have to say, but there was a lot of science there.
Well, here's the thing. If you actually read a lot of that stuff, firstly it'll do your head in, but secondly, it's actually pretty solid stuff that he produces. I won't say it's right, but it's actually pretty well researched.
Absolutely. Okay. I think anything that Mac writes down is not ill-conceived.
No.
There's absolutely a reason behind it.
Okay, we've just gone 1-1 while Gary and I are chatting away here. Of course, there's actually a little bit of billiards happening in the background. So he managed to close that one out, unlike the previous frame. So very positive there. We've got our nice big Reventon signs there. We're scanning around.
Talking of Mac, one of the interesting things I heard about the day before yesterday, one of the guys was saying, which again doesn't surprise me at all from Mac, although it is pretty out there in terms of research and the lengths that people go to see what works and what doesn't, was it was mentioned to me that Mac at one time played with a tip with 45-degree angle on one side and a flat on the other, on the same tip.
I'd heard that.
So that he could twist the cue depending on what shot he wanted to play, you know, whether it was on the flat or on the angle.
I hadn't heard that, but frankly I'm not at all surprised. I'm not shocked anyway.
I think he also went a stage further, as I understand as well, a few years back, where he decided that he needed to have an advantage to be able to cue straight when he was under the cushion. So he shaved a flat onto the shaft of the cue. Really? Yeah, so that he was able to ensure that I assume
that it would sit flat.
He was hitting the ball correctly in the middle off the cushion.
That's unbelievable.
Absolutely bizarre.
Yeah, I know some of the research in his books measures angles of deflection in thousandths of an inch. So he works from the half ball and then goes to the thin side and then the thick side from the half ball in thou, which is the old measurement, and then measured the angle of deflection. He's got all the tables laid out in his books, and while that may be more effort than you'd want to go to, the lesson you take away from it is just exactly what the old guys used to say, and that was that the thick side is far more forgiving than the thin side. Yes. So he produced a graph, and that said you can hit it a little thick and you'll still get the same result, but as soon as you start to fall away on the thin side, then the angle changes dramatically.
Yes, indeed.
So Matt's left himself a cannon down the cushion here, which will likely promote the red over onto the opposite corner pocket.
And he
down
needs
the
to be
tail.
hitting the yellow ball on the cushion side
Yes.
to push it across. Which
And he
is
does
what he's
all that.
done, just a little bit hard maybe. Although he's got a result out there.
He
I
has
think.
got a result. Maybe he was at the spotting limit there for, he couldn't get the red all the way down there. So what do you play here,
It's
Gary?
maybe a little, maybe we're playing a run through.
That's a good open shot, in and out of book.
It's an interesting choice of shot. Well, lots of people, I think, there would have maybe played a thin, slow cannon
Yes,
to leave the
yes.
red into the right centre.
Yes. Oh, he
And
just
he's
wanted to
paid the
graze
price, I
that.
think, for maybe going for that shot.
You can see the finger marks on the cloth
Mm.
there. It has been recently ironed and brushed, so it's very responsive to any screw or stun. It looks to me like the cloth is a bit more responsive than they're expecting, and the cushion's a little less responsive than they're expecting.
Indeed.
And that's not a criticism. That's something that your top flight players should really be used to.
Yeah.
Unlike snooker, where they're playing on exactly the same equipment, the sponsors' equipment at each tournament, as billiards players, we're very used to having to figure out different table conditions and angles of throw and responsiveness of cloth and so forth at every different tournament we go to.
It was interesting actually that towards the end of both of the semi-finals, this table of course was not used for the semi-finals, it was retained for the final, but during the semi-finals one of the Alcock and Taylor table fitters was here.
Saw
Just-
him,
Yeah, he came
Running
in
the,
just to check on the levelness of this table.
Yep.
And again, that's something I don't think I've seen back home in the UK. We wouldn't do that. Attention to detail again, I think, which is important.
Yes. Well, this is a big deal for us, you know. To have you guys here is actually a big deal for us, you know. And we hope that you feel that way, that you feel like you've been celebrated and honoured in being here. So, because it is genuinely an honour for us to have you here. Rob's got them nice and tight at top now. He's a quick player, isn't he? There's not
He
much
can be
making
quite
around.
quick. He makes decisions very quickly in terms of what shot to play. He's got quite a quick brain in that respect, and I think that's
Yeah.
probably partly to do with the amount of hours of solo practice he plays. He's not put into much practice in these days as he would normally have done, however, because he's now engaged with a slightly different career path in terms of trying to make a few pounds by renovating property and selling it. So he's doing a lot of hard labour, so to speak, himself. But he still puts a few hours in leading up to events.
So how many hours practice a week might he be doing right now?
At the moment, probably no more than 4 to 6 hours a week. But obviously, when the tournaments are around, back home typically there's an event, or well, the season's finished now pretty much, but there's an event pretty much each weekend. So a few hours play available to him then.
Very delicate, that one. And back in perfect shape.
But when he was engaged with the hotel business, which was his parents' concern, and Rob was general manager, I believe, or something of that ilk, he was able to find quite a bit of time to practice, and at that particular time he was probably practicing, I don't know, maybe 12, 16 hours a week.
Mm. And what about yourself? How much effort are you putting in?
Very little. I don't get time, unfortunately.
Well, I mean, hunting down those socks on eBay and continual trips to men's fashion stores
I wish,
must be grueling there, Gary, absolutely grueling.
I wish I had the time. The day job keeps me very busy, I'm afraid. I managed to play maybe once a week with a close friend.
And which club are you playing out of?
Well, my local club, which is very nice club that has 6 very good tables. I actually rarely go in there. I only live a couple of miles away from the club, and I just simply don't get the time. So when I do play, I play with, as I say, a friend of mine who has his own table, which is extremely nice. And we just grab a few hours as and when, really.
Rob was telling me he gives 800 start in his local league up to 200, so he's playing at minus 800.
Indeed, and yeah, I mean that's a hell of a start to give away. And in some instances, the guys that he's playing, they're not particularly good, but they're quite capable of making
30s and 40s,
20 and 30 breaks, regularly at the table, which is enough when you're giving that sort of start away.
Yes. Does your local league work the same way?
It doesn't. No. We have handicap league now, which we've been forced to do that over the last couple of seasons because of a few teams pulling out and the diverse abilities, I suppose, really, with keeping everybody together and everybody interested. So it is handicapped, but not as adversely as Rob's league. And also we work on a timed format in our league where you play for an hour on the clock, so the handicaps have to be within reason, for people to be able to overhaul, what in some cases could be a considerable deficit.
Almost inch perfect balk line crossing there. So the players, because this top of the table type play where you essentially pot cannon pattern can become repetitive, they've introduced a couple of rules to try and break that up, and those rules are that you're not allowed to pot more than 2 reds off the spot consecutively, and if you do pot 2 reds off the spot consecutively, the ball is replaced onto what snooker players will call the blue spot, what billiards players call the centre spot. So that's rule number 1. And the second rule in international, only really played in international competition, is this balk line crossing one, where if you are approaching a century, the referee will warn you at 80 points, and you then have to cross the balk line from the direction of the spot towards the balk between 80 and 100 points for the break to continue. So every century that you see recorded in this competition will have had a balk line crossing, just to add a degree of difficulty to this pattern. It's essentially because these guys are so good that they could almost go on forever. Not quite, but certainly there have been breaks of over 1,000 at this form of the game. There's never been a break over 1,000 with a balk line crossing. I think Mike Russell in the mid-900s has the highest recorded break for tournaments with a balk line crossing. But
Mike Russell had 800 and some odd, I think it was, wasn't it, from memory?
I think 900 and 900.
Was it 900?
I think 940-ish. If David Pitt was here, he'd correct us both and tell us the exact number. But
57.
he's standing beside me, and David says it's 957. Thank you, David. He snuck back in just when we thought we were free of him. Just when we thought we got rid of him.
Who needs a computer?
That's right. I might just hand over to David now for a little while. David can chat with Gary a bit.
So Rob's running close to the line now to close out this third frame. Just a few more scoring shots required.
32. 35.
Back in the commentary box now, we welcome David Pitt for his second stint.
Thanks, Gary. So we're getting very near the business end here. 140 to go. 140 to go for Robin. Cruising here.
43.
Oh, it was a bit straight there. Yes, a bit straight there. Had to play a stun cannon, but what a beautiful shot that was. Taking the red ball between the white and the yellow, right over the pocket. Beautiful shot.
2 more scoring shots required. And now left himself a little bit low, but it's easy just to play the simple cannon, stun cannon.
Yes, you don't often see the top players play that shot. That's more the shot of the club player. But when they need to, that's definitely the shot to
When
play.
need to, these must.
That's right, yes, indeed. So 2-1 lead for Rob Hall there in the final of this Pacific International Billiards. And very high quality display there from Rob to wrap that one up. And particularly after the setback he probably had in the first game, where he really should have won that, but he's fought back well now to take the lead.
After this event is concluded, David, you have the what you term as your nationals taking place. I'm not sure whether Peter covered that with you in the previous session. But
No, we didn't really talk about that, Gary, but yes, starting tomorrow we have, this is the Australian Open, open to all comers. We have, we've had over half a dozen visiting players, mainly from India and England, playing in that. A couple from New Zealand, and of course Peter Gilchrist from Singapore. But starting tomorrow we have the Australian National Championship, which is a closed event only for Australian residents. Yep. And that's a timed event where we play round-robin matches over, typically over 2-hour distances, and then building up through a round-robin and knockout to a 6-hour final, which is pretty old school in today's billiards. There's not a lot of that long format billiards played, but our national is the oldest cue sport event on the Australian calendar. It's been conducted since around about 1906, so around 120 years.
7.
And Matthew has got an incredible record in that event. He's won it 17 times, and he's still only in his 30s.
Very good. And that's a 4-day event again.
4-day event, yes. And there's just been an 8-day feast of billiards. In fact, the whole International and Australian Championship has gone for 11 days. As we had the Pacific International Snooker leading into this, so that gave the opportunity of the visiting players to play in 2 tournaments, and for the locals to play in 2 or even 3 tournaments.
And what format do you adopt for your national championships?
Well, that's the nationals are all timed matches in the round robin. Yep, all timed matches. We actually play 105 minutes in the round robin due to the contingencies of staging, 48 players. There's a lot of matches to get through. And then when we get into the knockout, we're playing
14.
we're playing
groups of 4 or 5?
And groups of 4. And that
Groups
was
of 4.
12 groups of 4.
And the top 2 from each group?
Top 2 from each group go through into the knockout. Yeah. That'll be very good. In a high quality field, not nearly as strong as the field that we had in the Open, because we don't have the overseas players in it. But all the top Australians playing, and generally very high quality billiards in that event. We can expect to see up to a dozen different players making century breaks in that event.
Sure.
Probably around about 60 or so centuries across the whole field. Yeah.
Of course, with the time matches, it gives some of the players, the likes of Matthew and the ability to be able to make the bigger breaks.
That's right. Well, as I did mention earlier on the commentary with Peter on this, one of the advantages that Matthew probably has here in this match is his familiarity with this table. Rob Hall has only played one match on this table earlier in this event. Matthew's played a number of matches on this table last year, including the final, where he broke his own Australian record with a magnificent 809 break. I was very fortunate to be a witness to that as I was playing on the next table. And I have to confess that as Matthew, passed through the 700s, approached 800, I was actually paying more attention to his game than I was to mine, which wasn't the best idea because I was only a few behind.
Matthew's just considering here where he needs to leave his white so that he can play the cannon to push the yellow behind the spots. Not totally straightforward. It needs to be quite accurate in terms of positioning in the white ball here.
Yeah, it's a bit of a surprise, Gary, that he went up there. Huh?
35.
Not quite right.
Not quite right, but it'll have to...
Nearly there.
You can go thick here, thick and slow, and just bunch the balls together. Oh, there he goes. It's always a mistake to predict what they're going to do, Kerry, because they invariably do something different. So perhaps we'll just let these players' skills do the talking for them. And Gary, you've enjoyed your week out here in Melbourne?
Yes, as I was saying to Peter, it's been lovely. The weather, I have to say, although it hasn't been great on a couple of days, it's been a welcome respite from the extraordinarily good weather we had in Singapore. But that was just so humid there. It was in some cases unbearable, I'd have to say.
Well, it's a beautiful shot by Matthew there, just to screw back into position for a cannon. He hasn't quite come a throw as he would have liked, but...
might have to play another run through cannon here, I think. He's managed to get it thin.
Yeah, that's a good shot. It's a lovely shot.
The Camerlanga was a bit deceptive there. So that's just quietly building up a nice break here. He's got 50 to go. In this frame of 150 up, we're playing best of 11 here in the final, so it's first to 6 frames wins. And, is that your takeaway order that's just been handed to you, Dave?
That's not my takeaway order. Peter has just given me some notes here, which we'll talk about in a moment. These big events, we've had 50 players in this event. There's 48 players in the international, and these things aren't possible if you don't have support from our sponsors. We've got very fortunate here in Melbourne at the Revenden Snooker Academy here at the Yarraville Club to have tremendous support from Revenden, the Yarraville Club, which is a major sponsor of this event, World Billiards Limited, who've been tremendously helpful in setting up the circuit in Australia, which has grown tremendously from very small beginnings a few years ago to where we are now. Consolidate and Leisure and Sport, who are a fantastic sponsor of billiards and snooker in Australia, who provide the cloth for these tables, which enables us to play on brand new cloth for these tournaments, championship conditions. Extremely fortunate to be playing with brand new strawn cloth and top class Aramuth balls provided by Consolidated Leisure and Sport. We're also very fortunate here to have some support from the Victorian Government under their state sporting events program for this event, and Billiards Australia and their president, Jason Colwick, who's just a powerhouse in administration as well as being a top 20 player, top 20 world player himself. So there's a lot goes into a tournament like this. Not all of it visible on the surface.
Matthew's got a little bit of a decision to make here. He's eyeing up the potting the red to be able to leave himself and in off the yellow into the yellow pocket. He does have two options. He can play that, or some players may prefer to run down to the top end of the table and then leave themselves the longer in off into one of the bolt pockets after the pot red off of the spot. So he does have a couple of options here, which he really feels comfortable with.
That's a nice shot. He's just left himself a half ball in off into the ball pocket, bringing the yellow back out into open play for a loser or a drop cannon. Of course, the major sponsor here we have at the Remington Snooker Centre is Remington Finance, who've put a tremendous amount into billiards and snooker, particularly into snooker, in the last 2 years in Australia, and we've just snuck in.
It's played that nicely.
Yeah. And without them we wouldn't be here now.
Almost perfect position here. Again, these particular shots, they look so straightforward, but it's vitally important that you catch the right side of the red,
69.
which Matthew has, but he'll ended up with a cover.
There's so many things that can go wrong with drop cannons. It's seemingly simple, but things like this can go wrong. The yellow has got in the way so that Matthew can't pot the red.
I think he's going to play with extreme left-hand side here off the cushion, maybe.
He tried to run through and off that, and he just caught the jaw. So that was just a little bit unlucky, but it's one of the risks associated with drop cannons. You might be interested to know, Gary, that Walter Lindrum at the height of his career eliminated drop cannons from his game because they were too risky.
Too risky.
He only used the centre pockets to get to the top of the table, and of course with his great skills he was able to do that. I must say I'm surprised that the modern players with their tremendous skills still continue to play drop cannons and don't adopt that mantra of avoiding them, because they are so risky. Things, when they go wrong, they go horribly wrong.
A lot of margin for error.
9 times out of 10 they're okay, but when they do go wrong, they go badly wrong.
Back where he needs to be here now.
He's got through that little...
In terms of position.
Yeah, got through that little touch, but he's has the advantage back down to well.
Just pace again there.
Yeah,
the table is definitely playing a little bit slower.
Yeah, it is. Slightly risky shot there, putting that red so close to the side cushion, because the margin of error is quite small there.
And he's overcompensated there.
Yeah, that's right. So now he's just running a little bit smelly for him.
Yeah.
Difficult short Jenny here. It's quite an open pocket, but he's got a thick run through to make sure that the white stays out of ball. He's done that nicely. Quite easy to just for the white to slip back into ball on that shot, isn't it, Gary? If you don't get it nice and thick.
Choices here now, not exactly ideal. Whichever way he goes, he may decide to play the cannon with the opponent's white ball off the side rail, trying to get it back near the spot. But again, the connection on the red is always a critical one.
Highly speculative shot that. It looks as though it's okay. That'd be great. Landed on the half ball line, which is a little fortunate, I think.
It's a question of whether he trusts the table to play it slowly, or he plays it up and down.
22.
Up and down all of the day.
Yes, both players are struggling to just come to grips with the pace of the table here, Gary. Of quite surprising. This table is just playing a little slower than the other
Little
tables in
slower.
the room,
Yeah.
and yet it's the only table in the room that has steel-back cushions.
It's, I think one of the factors of that is that it's not quite as warm in the room as it today as it has been for the last 3 or 4 days, and that I think primarily is due to the body heat. I think because for the last 3 days there's been quite a lot of people within the room, and whilst the air conditioning and heating has been on, the temperature in there has been reasonably high, so it's kept the slate warm. Whereas today there's very few people in there. I think that's had an effect.
So the reason for that, of course, is that over the last 3 days before today, we've had a full complement of players playing round-robin matches and knockouts. So all 8 tables have been in use all day, and the room's been pretty busy today, with only the semi-finals and finals, and 2 tables in use for the semi-finals and 1 for the final. We haven't got the same numbers of people in the room that we had earlier in the week. So Rob's just playing open billiards here, trying to develop these balls into a position where he can return to the top of the table. But the amazing thing about billiards is no matter where they are on the table, you're only ever 1 or 2 good shots away from having a perfect position. Gary, what do you think Rob will be doing here? You're very familiar with this game. Oh, just a little jaw there, I think, which pushed the ball out towards the middle of the table.
Again, has he got the pace to table here with this shot? No, he's hit it slow again.
Yeah.
Just a little short.
Short, and on our screen it looks a bit
Very
wide.
wide cannon there.
Yeah.
Now. Might be forced to spot up on the green spot. To play, although it looks as though he's going to try and play this wide cannon. No, we're wrong with both counts there. Giving Matthew another opportunity back at the table.
He does have an opportunity.
Starter.
Not what you'd call a great opportunity, though.
No.
Across the table cannon, but it's one possibility, but it's highly speculative, and he may choose to play safe from this position.
As across the table cannon, he could play red first, side rail, and across. He may decide to do that. Although that,
Just got underneath it.
not actually sure what he played there.
Well, I think he played that cannon as you described it, but he just got underneath the ball a bit and pushed it too wide.
And now Rob's got a forcing in off into the middle.
Might be going into the corner here. There. Oops. Oh, that's okay.
Oh.
That's fine. Red's in a difficult position, but it's definitely recoverable. Just got on the wrong side of that red, and
Just been joined by the very man himself, Jason Colbrook, is in the room. In fact, one of the things I didn't realise until this week was that Jason is prevalent as president and chairman of quite a number of different organisations in Australia, David.
he just loves
Not
committees.
not just this club.
Yes, it's difficult to keep track of all Jason's roles, but he's president of the Billiards and Snooker Club here at Yarraville. He's the president of Billiards Australia. He's the billiards coordinator for the Victorian Billiards and Snooker Association. He's a member of the Billiards Committee of the Australian Billiards and Snooker Council, and director of World Billiards, and there may well be other roles in the future for him. President of the Ballarat Billiards and Snooker Association and chairman of the VRI.
So it's fair to say he has a bit of time on his hands. And
Former president of the Melbourne University Billiards and Snooker Club. Need I go on? It's quite amazing that he finds time to play the game. with all those hats. Once again, too slow. They're just not picking up the pace of this table, these two. Just a touch game, billiards. Touch and accuracy. That's the key. I think he's putting this. Oh, I'll take that back. It's not a bad result. 2 balls out in the open.
It's turned out reasonably well. The referee we have here today, David, I haven't seen him around the venue over the last few days. Tell us a little bit about him.
Neil Brown, he has been around the venue for the whole week, yeah, but he had a haircut today.
He's been keeping himself under the radar.
Well, no, but he had all his hair cut off today, which is why you might not recognise him. He was here with long hair during the week.
Couldn't recognise him, that's what
right.
it is.
That's what it is, yeah. Right, Neil, very keen player, plays here at the Yarra Club, and he made his first ever 40 breaking competition last week. So very, very keen. Great referee. He's refereed all manner of Australian finals and Victorian finals in billiards and snooker over the last 20 years. Started refereeing as a young kid when he was only about 17, which is absolutely fantastic.
I must confess that's more than just a haircut he's had, isn't it?
Well,
he's had quite a significant amount off in the last 24 hours, by the looks of it.
I'd say all of it. He's heading into our class, Gary. Neil's a very, very fine referee and an absolute fanatic for the game and a tremendously hard worker. He was here earlier in the week and he brushed and ironed all 8 tables before the beginning of play on the first 2 days, which is a tremendous effort. As anybody who's ever done it knows, it takes about 20 minutes to do a table properly. So all credit to Neil and his efforts here this week. So Matt Bolton in again now, leading 80.
Another thing I have to say that I compliment you guys on here as well is the standard of broadcast that you have here for this live stream, and I think is extremely good, and it's the sort of thing that we could well do with over in the UK. But I mean, it is available, but it's tremendous cost from sizable organisations that have those skills and the massive amounts of equipment to be able to run something of this nature, whereas I see here it's quite limited in terms of the kit that's required. And
we're tremendously fortunate here in Melbourne, in fact in Australia, to have Dan Lynch of CueballTV, himself an accomplished Q Sports artist, I think, and very keen on the game, and Dan travels the country covering all Q Sports, 8-ball, 9-ball, snooker, billiards. Because he lives here in Melbourne, obviously he's doing more Melbourne-based events, but here he is sitting next to me, and it's easy to think that this sort of coverage just happens by itself. I can assure you, when you sit here and watch Dan, that's an absolute revelation, because he is monitoring this broadcast every tick of the way. He's ready to change a camera angle if that's required by the position of the balls or the position of the player or the referee. He's monitoring the sound levels and the picture levels and so forth to ensure that the broadcast that goes out on the internet is really good quality. As well as that, because we're in the commentary booth here and we can't hear the referee, Dan is keeping the score. So we know at the moment that Matt, as you can see on screen, Matthew leading 108 to 48.
And I think it's so important as well to have the dynamic scoring on the screen as well, to keep your audience, keep them interested and understanding exactly what's going on.
with the banner across the bottom of the screen here, we can see that the score in the frame so far. Matthew 111 to 48. We can see that Rob in the yellow figures there is leading 2 frames to 1. In the middle, we can see that this match is best of 11 frames. So all the information you could possibly want, except for who's going to win, and that's the big mystery that we have at the moment. Very nice pot there from
one of Matthew's
from
strengths
Matthew.
there, learnt from his time as a professional on the snooker tour. Potting balls like that, day in, day out.
49.
What a lovely slow screw that was, Gary, just to pull that red there. Most players would be playing that shot to bring the red back across the table, but Matthew's played that beautifully to just hold the red there. He doesn't fancy the pot though, so he's reverting to the safer screw cannon.
51.
I was hoping that the yellow would come back more towards the middle of the table there, but this is a very good position with the red over the pocket.
Yeah, the ready turned down there, pot ready turned down in favour of the screw cannon. Just shows you the respect that the players have for the pockets, really here. Then, not the tightest of tables, but tight enough to make you think about the shot that you're playing, especially if it's close to the rail.
What a good shot that was. Gary, he's put both the balls in front of him in a position where he can develop the yellow to the centre of the table, red for a pot, and he can be back at the top in 2 or 3 shots here.
We've just been joined in the commentary area here by Steve Mifsud, former IBSF World Snooker Champion. He's smiling at me now. In fact, Steve, as everybody will realise, was a losing semi-finalist in a very good match to Rob Hall in this very event just a few hours ago.
Yes, I have to confess, Gary, that there were some among the crowd who were barracking for an All-Australian final. That might surprise you.
69.
Again, Matthew's left that short. He only needs 12 to go out here, and he would have preferred to have just got those off the red into the middle pocket, but now he has to push this down. Pushed himself nicely on a pretty straight red, so no great amount of difficulty here. Again, that looks more like the shot of a club player, but with only
Getting
10
close
points
to the finish
needed,
line, he could afford to do that.
Yeah, he can just knock that in and just get the remaining points off the red.
This and 2 reds off the spot will be enough to take it to a 2-2 level after 4 games. Which effectively would make it the best of 7, David.
Well, that's one way of looking at it, Gary. Yeah, one way of looking at it. I'm going to go for the wing shot. 2-all. Both players should by now have had enough time on the table to start to get used to it and pick up the pace. And
Game 5 for Richard. Matthew Bolton's break.
And we're looking forward to some really top-flight billiards in this in the remaining frames of this final.
I'm now going to sign off and hand it over to Steve Mifsud, who's going to come in.
You do. Okay.
So, tally bye for now.
Yeah, just out of the David Pitt in commentary here on CueballTV with the final of the 2018 Pacific International Billiards Championship, and I'm delighted to be joined in commentary by my Kooyong Lawn Tennis Club teammate and fellow Victorian, former IBSF World Snooker Champion and 19-time Australian Champion, Steve Mifsud. Hi, Steve.
Hello, David.
Tell me, this is the standard opening line, what colour socks are you wearing today, Steve?
What colour socks am I wearing? I'm wearing black socks, though.
Black
I'm
socks?
sure everyone's very interested in that.
Well, I was quite surprised to hear my fellow commentator Peter Tankard. His first question to Gary Norman was about Gary's socks. In fact, Gary was wearing very vivid multicoloured socks, which they were able to talk about that for a couple of minutes. Anyway, let's get back to the billiards. How do you see this match developing, Stephen? The relative strengths of the two players in these remaining frames that we've got to go.
Well, I'm very, very impressed with Rob Hall. I haven't really seen too much of him play. I watched him play in the World Championships in Doha, where he played very, very well. And obviously our match today, and he hits through the ball lovely. He's got a fantastic cue action. Very good composure around the table. Really, really confident player, and he plays wonderful billiards. He's tactically very aware, and plays some very smart safeties as well. So he knows when to take the shots on and when not to. So it's shaping up to be a really good final, and I'm sure the spectators want to see a close game, but with Matthew, he's got the, I can say from a lot of experience playing Matthew, he's the pit bull of Australian billiards and snooker. He never lets you go, so I would have Matthew as slight favourite, just sheer will to win, and yeah. He's a great cueist as well, and a wonderful billiard player, but not much in it. I think they're both very evenly matched.
Oh, that was unlucky. Tremendous top spin cannon there along the top cushion. It's just managed to curl around behind the yellow.
How can you miss that?
Yeah, just
How is that possible? To
double
miss that?
double
That
top
is
spin,
just,
and I think it caught a little bit of the jaw,
that
which
is
just
incredible.
took it around. That was a very unlucky, tremendous attempt there. So
There's only really one part of the jaw you can hit there to miss.
That's
'cause
right.
if it hits further in the jaw, it's going to rattle and get the cannon,
Correct.
or you're going to go in off.
Correct.
That is just.
Yes. If it hits further up the jaw, it will have to hit the yellow on the way in. So there's a very small margin there. Oh, look at this. It's close, but no cigar. At this stage, both players. Oh, here we go.
Look at
that
this.
top spin,
That is
top
incredible.
spin. Incredibly, a really good power shot, and very lucky. Thanks for the replay, Dan. Nice work. Oh, beautiful cueing.
Yeah, wonderful shot.
Beautiful cueing.
Wonderful shot.
Oh, Matthew.
I think he might possibly. No, I don't think he's got that in off the yellow, or else he'd be playing it. So it could be a thin in off the red here. Thinnish, trying to bring the red just out of baulk for a pot.
Might be putting the red, Steve. He had a bit of a lash at that, didn't he? Well, it's hard to know whether he's playing the pot or the forcing it off on the right-hand side. But anyway, he's got out of that because he's left them in a difficult position for Rob.
I think he's left them very awkward here. I think the only real shot he's got on his... He might be playing a forcing cannon.
What a good shot that
I
was.
thought he was going to get the double kiss, but he's avoided that, and he's scored.
was a good controlled forcer, wasn't it, Steve? It was not easy controllable too. And he's finished up with a long pot. He's a very good potter, Rob, isn't he? He's really potted beautifully here this week. Look at that.
Yeah, that is just so clean, and he's hit through the ball lovely there.
And hit it to absolutely perfect position. That's a really first-class shot. He doesn't play snooker at all, Rob. I'm informed, but he does occasionally get the balls out to have a bit of practice. And I heard today that his highest break at snooker is 145, which for a guy who doesn't play the game isn't all bad.
Yeah, he just loves billiards. Fell in love with the game, and but interesting. His technique is really. I find it interesting because he really drops his elbow every single shot.
He does do that. Yes, I noticed
and that just allows him to get so much cue through the ball, and he has great control.
Yeah, that's a little bit reminiscent of Ronnie O'Sullivan.
Exactly.
The way he does that. Yeah. Who's held as a model, of course, for cueing.
Yeah, so he's in good position now.
14.
He's left that short, I think.
Yeah, I think he's on the hit that.
It's okay, but he would have preferred that to go on another 6 inches or so. 6 inches to a foot. Good shot. Still, again, short. They just can't. It's quite difficult in billiards when you're used to playing on tables at a certain pace to make the adjustment to a slower table, because you really have to hit the ball quite hard to get there. That one's also a little bit short, but because the balls are together, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, so it seems like an easy position, but you know, you have to take care with these, because you know, you played a little bit of a loose shot and they can get away from you. So he's played that very well, though. He could go straight to the top here if he plays this well. Just looking for a half ball contact on the red, pushing the red towards the pocket.
Round the back. There's not a big gap there, possibly a little more than it seems on our screen, but whatever gap there was, Rob managed to find it quite comfortably.
The problem was the shot before. I think he played it a bit casual and should have really been pushing the red towards the corner pocket.
Right, so it's quite a difficult screw cannon here, but Matthew, who has beautiful control and cue power, he's actually played that as a stun rather than a screw, Steve, and he ended up with a pretty good result by leaving himself close to the second object ball. And again, the pace is just killing these guys. They're just not getting it. But he needed that to be another 4 feet on, or possibly 2 feet shorter, but definitely not where it is. It's not a good spot. Recoverable.
7.
Short again.
What do you recommend here, Steve? Long straight putt? Or a 2 cushion cannon? The 1 or 2 cushion cannon?
Yeah, it looks like he's playing the cannon.
Cannon off the top cushion, yeah. It's a difficult shot this, because the ball has to go nearly 10 feet bouncing off a cushion. It's quite difficult to judge
It's
this.
going to be in good shape if he
Yeah.
gets it though. So
Yeah.
red's coming up in the right direction.
Right direction. They're quite close to the cushion. He may have it in the middle of the yellow here.
No.
Matthew Bolton, 11.
So, Steve, you mentioned before that Rob Hall has got a great love of billiards. You're very well known as a great snooker player. Has won, innumerable Australian championships, the World Championship, and tournaments all around the world. But perhaps what is less well known is your love of billiards. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, my father taught both my brother and I, and he had a love of billiards. He didn't really like snooker too much. He was a decent snooker player, but he was a consistent 100 break player at billiards, and he taught us billiards when we were starting. So I had a really good grounding, but I just wanted to play snooker when I was a junior player, and I still enjoyed playing billiards, but snooker was my main focus. And but as the years have gone by, then I developed more and more interest in the game, and yeah, it's hard to separate both games now. I enjoy playing both, but I'm sort of appreciating billiards more now.
Yeah, that's great.
I
It's
have
great
more-
to see you playing in more and more billiards tournaments around the country, Steve, and and doing very well in them too. So we're definitely looking forward to. You had a great performance this week in reaching the semi-final of this tournament here against the current, where your fellow semi-finalists were the current world number 1, the current world number 3, and a former world number 1. So you're in very august company there, but in fact you were able to take it right up to Rob Hall in the semi, which is great. And we're looking forward to you having a great run starting tomorrow in the Australian National, where where you'll obviously be among the top chances. Here we go. We've got a little bit more of a tactical battle here with a very delicate, slow length of the table in off attempt there by Robbie. Had to play that slowly to keep the red out of walk, and it's just grazed the draw and missed. Just left enough room for Matthew to go in off behind that, and that's advantage Matthew.
He's away here, really, Matthew, but well, the pot, I was going to say if he can pot this and run down, but it looks like maybe the angle's a bit too tight, so he's going to play a short Jenny here. A lot of side swinging the cue ball in. That's a great shot.
Just having a look to see where the white is in relation to the red, and now he's going to pot the red and come down to the top end of the table for hoping to develop the white for top of the table play. Sorry, when I say white, I mean yellow.
Oh, he's played that very well.
Yeah.
So he'll be looking to go to top from this shot now. Just sending the yellow behind the red spot, leaving a pot on the red, and that's absolutely perfect.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful shot.
So just a nice little stun here on this pot red, and you'd expect Matthew to probably run out the frame here in this situation. So this is his forte when the balls are in this position. Probably move up now to knock that yellow back off the cushion.
Yeah, it's just tremendous the way these top players can get down to the top of the table from such unpromising positions. If you recall when Matthew started this break, he had the red up near the balk line, the yellow nearly covering the top pocket. He was able to play a cushion first in off the yellow to bring that out. Short journey off the red, and suddenly, 3 or 4 shots later, he's down at the top of the table and cruising. Wonderful stuff.
I'm a bit surprised he's had to go back to the D this early, but shouldn't be a problem here. Just a nice drag shot, pot this red, come up high for the next cannon. Yeah, that's played that perfect. So knocking that yellow back behind the red spot,
28.
leaving a nice pot on the red.
It's very pretty to watch this, isn't it? The control these top players, and Matthew in particular, has around the top of the table is just uncanny. The product of years and years of hard work and dedication to his craft. And Matthew's one that fell in love with the balls at a very early age. And I was chatting to his dad, Neil Bolton, a couple of years ago, and he was telling me about Matthew even when he was a kid. Neil, who himself, of course, was a top line player. And referee just calling for some quiet from the audience there. When Matthew was a young kid, he would go to bed early, be sent to bed early, and then Neil and his wife would watch TV or something and go to bed. And then about half an hour later they would hear the click of the balls coming from the billiards room. Matthew had waited for them to go to bed, and then he'd get up and start going into the billiards room and knock the balls around, and Neil had to get up and tell him to go to bed because he had school in the morning. But from such an early age, he just fell in love with the balls, and that's what you have to do at this game to get to the top level, because the amount of practice and dedication that's required to reach the top is it's incredible, really. The old 10,000 hours rule, they say you have to practice an activity for 10,000 hours to become, completely proficient at it, whether it be playing the piano or a musical instrument, or perfecting a sport, or some skill along those lines. The 10,000 hour practice rule is a well-known phenomenon. And Steve, I don't think there's any doubt that you've put those 10,000 hours in yourself.
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay. And I've just been informed by Peter Tanker that Matthew's son Jake, has missed, is starting to do the same thing and spend that time on the table. How old is he, Peter? Oh, okay, right. Starting young.
I'm very surprised Matthew broke down there.
He did. He missed that by a long way, didn't he? Very, very surprising to see him miss a drop cannon at all. Certainly not by that margin.
Not easy for Rob here. He's got a... I don't think he's playing this play.
He's running through it. Yeah, that's a safe shot. I think they're showing quite a bit of respect for the pockets on this table, which can be probably a little bit tighter than the other tables in the room. Steve, is that your view of it? But this is probably the tightest table in the room.
Oh, I'm not sure about that, Dave.
Okay.
Yeah, they're all pretty.
All pretty much the same.
Yeah, they're pretty consistent.
Okay.
I feel.
All the pockets here, of course, are cut to the IBSF championship templates by Alcox, the well-known Melbourne firm of billiard table manufacturers who supply and service all these tables. And they do a wonderful job of setting up tables, not just here at Yarraville, but all around Melbourne. Nearly every club has Alcox tables and uses Alcox to service them. And they've been a great supporter of billiards and snooker in Victoria for well over 150 years.
So frame 5's proving to be a bit of a battle here.
Very
Both
much
players have
so.
been in decent positions and messed up. So, and once again, very surprising miss.
Very surprising miss, and he's actually left these absolutely perfect for Matthew. So both players are bypassing chances to put this particular frame away. Matthew's just having a look to see what the perfect angle is to play the next shot, which is a cannon from the yellow to the red. And he's just going to pop this red and just try and get perfectly on the line that he chose by walking around.
So 82 points required by Matthew to get a 3-2 lead, which means he doesn't have to cross the balk line, so just takes care with the next couple of shots and gets himself into perfect top position.
Yeah, which he's done. He's got the white absolutely where he wants it. And, this is where the 10,000 hours of practice comes in. Just a touch and accuracy to keep the balls rolling along in front of him and playing a series of apparently simple shots, but every shot is played with a little bit of side, a little bit of stun perhaps, to just get the right angle to make the next shot simple. It looks very easy, but as anybody who's tried it will tell you, it's not at all a simple thing to play like this. Looks like he might have left himself a bit short there. Screw back. He's such a good curist that he's just done that easily and put himself back onto a better angle. Well, this is interesting. Steve, Matthew's preferred position is what's called the floating white method at the top of the table, where the white ball is kept away from the cushion and close to the red spot. And Matthew's now got the yellow ball hard up on the top cushion in what's known as postman's knock position, which is the other main method of playing top of the table. Of course, you, Steve, have long been a proponent of postman's knock method, but you're developing more of the floating white in recent years. Is that true?
Oh yes. I've played a lot more floating white recently, and yeah, it's been going okay. But Matthew's potted that ball a little bit thick, which has left him a dodgy pot. He didn't come out. Just potting a ball to one side of the pocket or the other just changes the positional aspect of the shot so much. So he just potted a little bit thick and didn't come up as high as he wanted.
And I think it's probably fair to say that he was annoyed with himself at leaving himself low, and perhaps didn't concentrate as well on the next shot as he could have. He's let Roll back in here. It was quite a nice shot.
So he's played that well. He's played thin off the red, knocked the yellow into the middle of the table. Now, so this looks easy, but judging the pace on the red is, you've got to get this right. If he gets this right, he'll be moving into top of the table play shortly. So
that's not right. I think he's trying to bring that up to the over the middle pocket there, but he's left it short, and now has to play a long loser into the top. Thick shot there.
It's not the best, this drop cannon. He's got to play it with a lot of side, but it should still be okay. Strong right hand side on that shot.
It's worked out
Needed
beautifully.
a little bit of luck, and he's got it there. So
it's interesting, Steve. I was watching earlier on, and he's actually hit that on what most people would regard as the wrong side of the red. But with where the white finished, it's actually perfect for him. So it's funny how sometimes you can get on the wrong side of the ball, and yet it turns out perfectly. I've actually seen players who will play deliberately to get on the outside of the red. Robbie Falvari is one that can do that. And there's various reasons for doing that. to avoid a smother or to just, you know, if you feel that that's going to leave the best position. But it's quite rare to see somebody do it deliberately. It's more often accidental. But in this case, we don't know. Whether deliberate or accidental, it's worked out very, very nicely for Rob.
Yeah, it's a funny thing with drop cannons. You can generalise and say drop cannon, but they're all slightly different. So they all need a little bit of side, and they all need a lot of care. And yeah, you have to sort of improvise with each drop cannon. You can't just play them all the same way.
Yep. Nice shot there, Rob. Just double kissed the white to just push that back towards the centre of the top cushion, which is the ideal position for him. So just a moment ago, looked like Matthew was cruising, and now it's advantage Rob.
Yeah, same position really. He doesn't need to cross the balk line. He's got the balls at top. Postman's knock position. Landed a little bit straight on this, so he's screwed back out.
Nice shot that. That's not quite far enough. Has to run through this one. Where's he going thin? Oh, yes. Playing for the double kiss there, Steve, but he hasn't got that. Now he's knocked the white away from the spot. So he's lost position there, but these top line players are so good that they can recover and be back at the top of the table in one or two shots.
Very good cueing, really, not to push that shot. I mean, he just got down and hit it but he was very close, and he played that one very well. This is the shot I thought he would have left when he was at top of the table and not taken the risk that he took.
Wow, that's remarkable. You just do not expect to see players at this level missing a bread and butter shot like that. Don't know whether he may have got a kick on that or what happened.
Well, that's just horrible, isn't it? I mean, the yellow's hard up on the cushion, so there's no in off there. Well, at least I don't think there's an in off.
Well, Matthew's had a good hard look at it and does seem to have rejected that. He's got a difficult long pot into the ball pocket of the red he made. He would love to be able to go in off this yellow, but
safety shot, is it? No.
Get really cueing on it.
I think he might have played the enough.
I think he did. I think he played it as a thin screw with left-hand side, but he just didn't get the grip on the cue ball.
Well, this isn't great either, because you're playing against the nap.
Yeah.
Thin cannon. He's caught the red thin.
He did well to keep the white out then, which was the other danger of that shot, but the red's just gone horrible. It's a funny game, billiards. Sometimes you can play a shot like that and the red will just go over the pocket and you think, oh, isn't this great? Other times it finishes up on the side cushion and you've...
It's not too bad, really, if you can control that contact.
Oh, he did. Oh, what a beautiful contact. Doesn't want that to knock it away, though. Oh. That's exactly what's happened. He was looking the goods then, and now he's got a bit more work to do.
Well, I don't think it's all that bad. If you can screw this, get the cannon, push the red into the middle of the table, I think the white will come out of balk.
Let's see what he does. Well, he's given it a good tonk, and they've certainly come out of balk.
And I think he's going to have an in off the white into the middle pocket.
Yep.
A bit of a forcing shot. It doesn't really... It'd be nice
He's gonna.
It'd be nice to get position on the white, but
Mm.
he's always going to have that red there, so
Yeah, yeah.
he's missed the off.
That was actually a tricky one because he had to play that as a slow screw to keep the white out of balk. Normally in that position you'd just bash it in and out of balk, but the angle was such that he couldn't really do that, so he's just undercooked that one and left Matthew with a difficult shot. What can you do here? Safety first, pot the white. He'll go in off the red here, and most likely with the respect that he has for Rob Hall, he'll just be putting this red straight into balk. Yep.
Neil Brown doing a wonderful job. One of our best referees in Victoria,
Very good
in Australia.
Very good, Steve. And Gary Norman was asking me before who the new referee was that was doing the final. He hadn't seen him all week. I had to explain that Neil's new haircut was the reason that Gary thought there was a new ref on the job. That's a shot you don't see very often. It's called running a coup, where your ball enters the pocket without hitting another ball. Normally that's a foul. The only position where it isn't a foul is in this double balk position here. Used to be a much bigger part of the game until it was more or less legislated almost completely out of the game about 20 years ago.
Proving to be a very tight frame, this one.
It is, yeah.
It's
been
yeah.
107 to 101, and we've probably been going for about 40 minutes on this particular one. I'm going around the table here, trying to move those balls. Ooh, he's nearly potted the red there. But he's left the red right over the hole. Fortunately for him, he's left the white very close to the side cushion. Matthew will have a good hard look at this to try and work out whether he can pot the red and leave himself a cannon.
Yeah, the yellow's, it's tight on that cushion, isn't it? So yeah, the cannon's really tricky because you've got to avoid the double kiss.
That's right. So
and yeah, he's tried to get out, didn't fancy that, and he's tried to get on that half ball line in the middle pocket, just dropped it a bit short, but should still be able to force this in and out of balk, leave the red somewhere near the blue spot.
force of this, he's really going to have to do this very sweetly, and he's done that. He's a master of that type of shot. And this might be going into balk, which
I think it's just going to be okay.
Just okay.
Look at that, just outside. Wow, that makes a huge difference, doesn't it?
Oh,
if that goes into balk, it's got nothing.
He's suddenly gone from chocolates to boiled lollies, but as it's turned out, it's just sitting millimetres in front of the walk line, and he's got quite a variety of shots that he can play.
Yeah.
This is the shot which requires very careful handling.
Yeah, it just sets the red up, gets the yellow out.
He's done that nicely, but he hasn't quite got the right angle on the red. Would have preferred to push that down a little bit straighter. Still screwing off.
Yeah.
Just trying to hold that yellow behind the spot and screwing off into the middle. He's just hit it too softly. The yellow didn't go far enough, and he didn't quite get the bite on his ball to come back into the middle pocket there.
So for Rob Hall, 45 to go. Could this be the Wow. Wow. I mean, he's still okay, but that should have been a lot better. That shouldn't have been going anywhere near the jaws of that pocket. But it's just a matter of setting up this pot now, getting on the half ball line for a in off the white. So he just wants this red to come down probably 3 inches more, so he's got a straight pot into the middle. So this looks better. So this is fine. So he just stuns there where the red is. He'll have a half ball in off the yellow. From there he should be a couple of shots from getting the balls to top of the table.
Interesting at this stage of the game, not all these top line players are actually thinking about top of the table at this stage of the game. There are some at this point when there's only 30 points or so to go, they're just content to play on the red and to go out that way with the minimum of risk. At this stage, to go to the top, Rob's going to have to play a drop cannon, and as we've seen often here tonight, the drop cannons can go horribly wrong. You can get a smother or just a nasty leave, perhaps one or more balls on the cushion.
Yep.
It may well be that Rob's just going to play some open billiards here to get where he needs to be.
David.
That didn't work.
No. So he's got a short Jenny, which is, high degree of difficulty with short Jennies. He's played that well.
Played that beautifully, yeah. Brought the white out into the middle.
So a thin in off here, leaving a drop cannon. Played to perfection, really. Look at that position. That's if
beautiful.
you wanted to put your white ball for a drop cannon, that's probably the spot you would put it. With your hand. He's okay.
He's okay, but
He's okay.
again, that just illustrated the danger. He was only a millimetre or so away from having a smother there. Very stun. Using the jaw to keep the red straight along the top cushion and bringing it back to the other side of the table. That's a good control shot, that.
So
minimum risk.
He stayed this time. Well, he's got the cannon, hasn't he? So he might just play a little bit of reverse top here and see out the frame. He's knocked that wide up a fair way. Straight to the cannon. A little bit surprised with that, but
Well, he's had two bob each way there. I don't think they're going off the cannon is quite right, so he can go off the red and bring it up to the middle of the table. Again, he's left it short. They're doing this.
Drop cannon, red over the pocket.
That's the shot, yeah.
He's only got 8 more points, so he's just going to.
He likes it. I think he's going off the white.
Incredible. Incredible.
39.
Hands back the advantage to Matthew. Rob's just usually so
steady, so reliable on that.
With his
Pretty
half ball shots.
Bread and butter off into the top pocket, and he's missed that on the narrow side, and I'll let Matthew back in. He's just played to put these together. It's not ideal, this.
It's okay. It's okay. He's going to go inside that red with a lot of right hand side. I think this will work out well. Yeah.
And indeed it has, Steve. Well called. Unless it's on the cushion. Even if that is on the cushion, that's he can play a 5-shot here. Up the red and come across for a cannon. He'd rather not be doing that, of course. He'd rather be going off that, but it's very close to the cushion.
That's incredible how the balls have landed like that.
Yeah.
I mean, the yellow or the red, like.
They were both heading towards the pocket, weren't they? And yet
Yeah.
they both ended up, you know. He's got a little skinny enough here. I think he's got a gap to go around the back there, so see what he plays. I'm thinking cushion first here, Steve. How do you see it?
I don't think so.
No?
I think he's going
Off the top cushion?
off the top
Okay.
cushion with check side into the
Yeah,
red,
yeah.
which isn't guaranteed to leave a good position. Actually, he might even be thinking of running through this. That's the best shot, really, if he can run through.
No,
He played the run through.
He did play the run through. No side.
That
and-
was just guaranteed, to leave the red plum. But
Amazing developments here in this tight 5th frame. Both players jockeying for position, trying to establish the advantage, but they just can't quite put this one away.
So 2 more scoring shots after this. So 2 pots, I would imagine here, Rob, or a pot and a cannon. Yeah, just looking up, sizing up the cannon.
Yeah, I see, yes. Yeah.
And he's 3-2 up. I have to say, what a wonderful event that's been put on here. It's just been fantastic having these international players here.
The quality of the field has been absolutely outstanding.
So many of them.
And there we go. Rob will take the 3-2 lead. So well done, Rob. We're going to have a double change in commentary now. Peter Tankard is coming back into the commentary chair, and he's going to be joined by Grant Medley, and they will take us through the next frame or 2 of this.
I think there's a break.
So
I
far
think
we've
there's
had
going
a
to be a 10 or 15 minute break, David. So we'll be back with Grant and Peter.
After the break.
Okay.